Hey, what's up? My name is Alistair Cunningham. Welcome to today's show. Now listen, on today's show, I'm going to talk to you about some of the pains and the problems I've had in my businesses over the last 18 years. And today we're going to focus primarily on staff. Because anyone that runs a business will be able to tell you this. Some of the biggest problems that you'll ever face in your business are with staff. There's staffing issues. They're getting the right people to do the right jobs. And I've had many horror stories when it comes to staffing. Let me give you one example. I used to have a commercial vehicle garage, and in that business I employed 3 members of staff. So 3 and then myself, four in total that worked in that business. We also had some part-timers that used to come in and help. But the biggest problem I had was with the full-time staff, because, you know, the hours were 9 to 5. I didn't ask for much, right? 9 to 5. And for a commercial vehicle garage, that's pretty good, because most commercial vehicle garages run shifts and they run night times. I didn't do that. My business was focused on 9 to 5. If we had to do a little bit of overtime, then so be it, but generally 9 to 5. And in the industry of commercial vehicles, what happens is generally a lot of people, so you employ from within. So most people that come and work for you generally come from recommendations. For instance, Phil's looking for a job, and then I'd go and speak to Phil. And that's how it really sort of worked. It was a lot of them by personal recommendations and just by knowing people in the industry. And I had a problem where I had too much work but not enough people to do that for me. And I was at the early stages of my business career, and I was looking to systemize that business so that I wasn't having to physically be turning wrenches and fixing buses and coaches on a day-to-day basis. So I was now looking to outsource and actually get staff to come on board and help me develop and grow the business. And that's when the problem started. You see, nobody will have the same devotion, the same care, the same attention to detail as you will. The reality is this: you're the business owner, so you're always going to have the greatest attention to detail, the greatest devotion, the greatest heart, and the greatest care for your business. So you have to come to a point where you can start to let that go a little bit and accept that when you employ people, they're not going to have that same 150% commitment that you have. I've always struggled with that, always have done. And one of the things that I struggled with was letting go of the daily tasks. The reason being is because it was like old school. Well, if I want it done properly, I've got to do it myself. I'm sure many of you watching this have said that. And I remember I started to let go. I started to get my staff to do more, and I started to entrust them to do the jobs that they were getting paid to do. And I had this one particular young lad working for me. I'm not going to say his name, but I had this one particular young lad working for me at the time. And I was very early in my sort of business career, and he was my second employee. And you got to understand, back then, although my business was doing okay, it was basically covering costs on a monthly basis. It gave me a great lifestyle, but it was basically covering the monthly outgoings, because I was working with customers who were paying me on account. So sometimes I would wait 90 days to get paid for my jobs, and cash flow was a problem back then. So I had these 2 members of staff that were both getting like really good money between them, like each a couple of £1,000 a month they were both getting. So that's £4,000 a month in sort of salaries that I'm having to pay out. And I always remember, I'm paying out £4,000 a month, or there or thereabouts, not to the exact pound, but there or thereabouts. And I'm creating money, I'm building a business. My staff are really helping me, and I decided I want a break. I said I need to just go and have 3 or 4 days off. And my partner at the time bought me tickets to go and see the Formula 1 in Monza. So we went over to Monza to watch Formula 1 for 4 days. And that was the first 4 days I'd had off in about 2 years, because I've been building the business like relentlessly. And I decided I'm having 4 days off. So I took Thursday, Friday, Saturday and Sunday off. So technically I only took 2 days off. But for me it was 4 days off, because when you're in business is 7 days a week. And what happened was, I had buses booked in for MOT on the Monday. And I had this one particular bus booked in for MOT. It'd been with me now for 3 months. We'd been fixing it as per the customer's requirements, and we'd been working to their schedule and also the amount of money they had available, because there was a lot of work needed done on this bus. And what happened was, I had a specific problem with this vehicle, and it had an electrical fault. We couldn't fix it because it was quite complicated, so I outsourced that to another mechanic, an electrical mechanic, and his name was Dave, and Dave was booked to come into my yard on Friday lunchtime about 1:30, and he was going to fix the bus, and then it would go for MOT on Monday lunchtime when I got back. So Friday rolls round. I'm in Monza and I'm watching the Formula 1 cars drive round. I'm having the whale of a time. The sun's shining, it's beautiful. I'm there, I'm having fun, I'm having a few beers, having a bit of chill out time. Look at my phone. I've got about 20 missed calls. 20 missed calls. So I look at it and it's Dave, the electrician. One after the other, 20 missed calls. So I ring him back and I'm like, hey Dave, what's up? And he said, Alistair, he goes, I'm at your yard. He goes, but I can't get in. There's nobody here. I'm like, well, there should be, because it's like 12:30. It's like 12:30, 1 o'clock on a Friday. There should be somebody there. Like, I employ 2 members of staff. There should be somebody there. So I'm like, give me a minute. I'll contact my my team. So I start ringing the 2 guys that work for me. I start phoning them, and I'm ringing them from Italy, and I'm like, leaving them voice notes. Hey guys, just let you know, Dave, the electrician's there. Where are you? What's going on? He needs in to get this vehicle done. 35 minutes go by, 40 minutes go by, 1 hour goes by. None of my staff have responded to me. Like back then, this is like 15 years ago. Didn't have WhatsApp back then, so it was a phone call or a text message. None of them had responded to me at this point. And I've got Dave ringing me, what's going on? Got to about 3 o'clock and Dave said, look, I've got another job, I can't wait anymore. Finally, one of my members of staff phoned me back, and he rang me back and goes, hey Al, what's up, what's going on? And I went, where have you been, mate? And he went, oh no, we've been at the workshop. I went, have you? Have you really? And he said, yeah, we just popped out to get some milk and to get some parts and stuff, but we're back now, so what's going on? And I said, well, the electrician's been trying to get in since 12:30, it's now 3 o'clock, so nobody's been there for the last 2.5 hours. What's going on? And they said, oh, get them to come back and all that sort of stuff. But by now, my electricians have to go. The long story short, Monday morning comes, I arrive back at my workshop. The bus cannot go for MOT because of this electrical problem. We can't take it for MOT. It therefore misses its MOT space. You cannot get an MOT space for at least 4 weeks, probably longer. So now I've got to get on the phone, I've got to tell my customer who's been waiting 3 months for this vehicle, hey man, sorry, I can't, the bus couldn't go for its MOT because we had an electrical fault that we couldn't fix in time. Alistair, you told me that would be done on Friday when the electrician arrived. Yeah, I know, unfortunately I was abroad and the staff I employed, they weren't here when the electrician showed up, so the electrician couldn't do it and he couldn't come back until tomorrow. It's not good enough, Alistair. That's going to cost us thousands and thousands of pounds. And then you're going to charge us thousands and thousands of pounds, and what's going to happen here? That customer was a customer who gave me 30 vehicles a year to maintain. It was a huge customer. They stopped using me after that. Not straight away, but what happened was they started giving me less and less vehicles. And then what they started outsourcing it to other companies. As a result of my staff not doing what they were supposed to do, I lost my biggest contract. Now let me tell you what happened to the staff. Fortunately, at the time, I was based on a farm in the north end of Bedfordshire. And on that farm, there's CCTV. So I asked the lady the farm manager, I said, look, can I look at the CCTV? She said, yeah. So I looked at it. My staff arrived in the morning earlier than they've ever arrived before. They were in the yard by 7:30, 8 o'clock, and they didn't start till 9. What happened was one of them put their car on the ramps and they done an oil change, and they literally messed around on the ramps fixing their own car for like 2 hours. And the other one, who I allowed to park one of his trailers, he had a catering trailer, I allowed him to use my yard to store that. He then got in the workshop, he pulled his trailer into the workshop, and then he proceeded to do loads of repairs to that. So both of them were at work doing their own stuff until about 10 o'clock. One of the guys hooked his trailer up to his van and he left the yard. And then about half an hour later, the other one shut doors up, shut the gates up, and then he went home for the weekend. By 11:45, all of my staff had left for the day. Electrician showed up 45 minutes later, couldn't gain access. Reality is this: my bad staff cost me a big contract. That contract at the time was probably worth £100,000 a year to me. Long story short, if you've got bad staff, they're going to cause you problems. Do what I done. Both the staff got let off that week. They got let go. I let both my staff go that week. I told them on Monday morning, you're finishing on Friday. You no longer work for me. And both of them pleaded for their jobs. They never worked for me after Friday ever again. I got rid of both of them there and then because they cost me £100,000 a year. So the lesson here, guys, employ good people. Make sure you have very clear expectations of what happens with your staff and how you expect them to behave. And make sure you get rid of the dead wood when you need to. Don't be scared to fire somebody. Don't be scared to take control of your business and get rid of the dead wood. This is not emotional, this is not friendly, this is business. Get rid of dead wood. I hope you've picked up some lessons from today's teachings. Listen, make sure you stay tuned for next week and I'll see you then.